push him into anything. He was a grown man and he did what he had to do. And you have no right to feel guilty for what happened. You don't. You were a champion and you did what you were expected to do. And you did what I and everybody else thought you should do. And you want to tell me that those fights weren't real? That you were carried? Well, I don't believe it. It doesn't matter what I believe, because you're the one that's got to carry that fear around inside you. Afraid that everybody's going to take things away. Well, none of it's true. It doesn't matter if I do. It doesn't matter because you're the one that's got to settle it. Get rid of it.
Music will be presented commercial free.
Spiritual experience. We are back. That was Adrian's words to Rocky Balboa when he was there with all of the self-doubt. You know, I think if I remember correctly, that was a scene where he just got the shit beat out of him from Clubber Lang, and then he was training with Apollo on the beach. Apollo came back to train him, and, you know, he was having like all these doubts, you know, all of them. And he got a pep talk from his wife, you know. It's real shit. It's real shit, man. We don't have to live. It's okay, I guess, to be afraid. He was afraid. I remember, and he said it, I'm afraid. You know, he told his wife he was afraid. And she's like, I don't know what she said, but she definitely didn't call him a punk ass for being afraid. And, you know, I live with a lot of fear. You know, I do. I live with a lot of, I just always fucking do. I personally, it's so funny. Like, I don't think, you know, I live with a lot of things. Some of them we're going to get into, boy. Yeah, but some of them, the main one, they're all the main one. I'm sorry. They're all the main one. One is terminal uniqueness, right? Where I think it's only me. Like, I'm the only one who lives with the level of fear that I have. I don't even know the level of fear that other people live in. I just know what I have to deal with every day. You know, the level of fear that I got to deal with. And, I don't know, I guess it's manageable. It's definitely, you know, I don't have any qualms about it. But it's definitely not manageable on my own. You know? And I set up my life in a way where, you know, where there's a lot of, I don't want to say pressure. The pressure's on, you know? The pressure is on. And that's true. That's true. But, you know, I always make it more than I can handle on my own. So, and I have like this whole army of people, including all of yous, who help me because nobody can do it on their own. Nobody can, you know, at all. At all. Yeah, nobody can do it effectively on their own. And the sooner that I accepted that, the better my life was. You know, and I think that's like that's a really important thing to understand. You know, because if you ask me what are the main differences or difficulties that I have with whether it's my, you know, my woman or my kids or like whatever, is that, and I find this actually just, you know, not just with them, but like when I think that I have like this ultimate one-up on some of them. When my ego comes in and be like, dude, I don't understand why they just don't do this. Well, because it's like I have an almost reflex reaction to ask for help. Yeah, I do. Because there's very few things that I could do 100% on my own. And I watch people get overwhelmed, and I'm like, why don't you just ask for help? If you just ask for help, then, you'll get it. And then things will be easier for you. Like you don't get like a gold star by figuring it all out on your own. Like, some people, they just want to be, I don't know, maybe they just want to be right more than anything else. And it doesn't really even make sense. I know, because I used to be like that. Learning how to ask for help and how to accept the help, and who knows in what way the help comes, is, it's a learned skill, because then I have to be vulnerable. And what I found is that the more that I am willing to help other people, then the more, the less pressure it is for me to ask for help. I mean, listen, I'm the one that has to do the execution. I got to execute, but I have to also, yeah, I got to execute. I'm the one, like, my job is, I talk about it, whether it's like the gym or just in life, showing up in life is so not easy, so I could stay in like this very, I don't want to say it's a comfort zone, but I would say it's the safe zone. Because to be honest with you, I'm not that comfortable being safe. I'm not. I'm actually a little bit more fearful the safer it is, if that makes any sense. And not one of these things like, oh, I'm scared the bomb's going to go off and I have like this impending shoe that's going to drop. It's not really what I think or what I feel. But what I feel is that, like, because I have this gravitational thing that pulls me towards self-destruction. Like, what do they say? The idle hands is like devil's whatever. Like, I don't know. Me and the devil, we play fucking ping pong, bro. Like, he's cool. Like, he's around. I'm not scared of him. I don't let him too close. I stay close to the Lord. The Lord is in the bleachers, making sure nobody does no sneak attacks. Now he'll come in with the chair, fucking Ric Flair style, hit him with the woo. So it's some of that. But yeah, like, I don't like. So the thing is, like, an example is this, right? Okay, it's a lot easier maybe for me to do nothing, as far as facing my fears and walking through them and doing it. It's easier to do nothing, but it actually feels worse than doing what I need to do. The example is like, okay, like I told you guys, I've been doing the treadmill thing, and I'm sorry, all my stories and analogies, a lot of them have to do with exercise, but I'll bring other stuff into it too. Like, so what is it? It's easier for me. What was the other day? Man, I don't know what was going on, but I was having like maybe a rough time. And, I could have went, and I was very close to going to grab like 2 slices of pizza to turn off that, whatever you want to, anxiety, maybe fear, I don't know, turn off the now, whatever I was going through right then and there. Like, and I was like, because I was already going through something, and I knew that if I went and grabbed like 2 slices of pizza and then a fucking beef patty with cheese and then like all this other I could have eaten myself out of that moment, and it would have felt great for, I don't know. One day I'll time it if I ever would. This is like emotional cutting. I'm sorry. But I would have felt great for like a short period of time, let's say 10 minutes while I'm eating it. And then I will feel like shit for like half an hour. and then I'll feel like shit with sprinkles for like 4 hours. And then I'll just tell my friends, oh, I just fucking rang the pizza bell or whatever, you know? And not saying that pizza is bad, but the way that I use pizza is fucking bad. You know, it's the way that I use pizza. So I didn't do it. And I came and I walked and I went to the gym and I jumped on the treadmill. And like I fucking did it. You know, I did my thing. You know, I walked for an hour, elevation 15, speed 3.0, over 750 calories, whatever. Right? So I did that instead. And every time it's torture while I do it. It's none of it feels good. And while I'm on there, I'm watching like videos on YouTube of like anything, you know, to just keep my mind, you know, off of the thing, you know, because if I keep looking at the time, it's going to be fucking bad. I promise you. It's punishing. So, but let me tell you, when I got off of there, I felt like a champ because I you know, I made a right instead of a left. And, you know, the more that, and it's very, you know, it's not all the time that I need to ask for help in order to do that, but I need to ask for help when I find myself making the wrong choice every day. Because every day something comes up. Every day there's another obstacle. Every day I don't have a regular mundane life where I punch in, punch out, you know, and then go home and eat a bag of shit. Like, I don't have that, you know? And I purposefully don't have that because if that was my life, I would really be in a bad way because I can't handle, you know, I just can't handle it. You know, I can't handle it. I would have more things to fill up, you know, more things that I had to fill up, you know, and that's, you know, that's what she's talking about. She's talking about like, yo, man, what are you, you know, of course you have to be afraid, you know, but you do it anyway, you know, and all of the fears that you have are like fiction, you know. Yeah. He was in there fighting. Remember they said it was some of them were fixed or whatever, you know, and Mickey wouldn't help him fight Clubber Lang, and then Mickey dies. Like, it's a very emotional thing. I always say that, you know, that the Rocky movie, the original Rocky movie, and Rocky Part 2, first Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, for me, those are like romance stories. You know, it's about how him and Adrian fell in love. You know, she worked in the friggin' pet store. And I know, like, you guys can go back and watch it and be like, wow, this guy, he was a little bit, by today's standards, you know, they would have had him thrown in jail and suspended his Twitter account if he even had one. You know, if Rocky knew how to use a friggin' phone. Remember, he used to yell out the window. But, yeah, it was like in the 70s. And it's just beautiful love story. You know, and I love that. It gets me choked up when I watch that stuff. You know, and I watch it all the time. Just like the parts that make me a little bit sappy. You know, to remind myself why, you know, to get back on the beam and how much in love with my woman I am. You know, when challenges happen, and then all of a sudden I start to think that, like, I don't know, I start to think that I'm better than her in those moments. But that's just like all ego. It's not even real. Truth is, we're both great in all these different ways. And that's real. That's real. So yeah, at the end of like the first Rocky, you know, he goes 12 rounds with Apollo Creed. If you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, sorry. He goes 12 rounds. And nobody even knows really that he, you know, he loses, right? Split decision. I think it was split or unanimous. I think it was split decision that he lost. Anyway, at the end, Like, he doesn't even care. He made it all the way through, and all he's doing is in the ring. And people, it's so funny, they mock this part of the film where he's just like yelling for his woman. You know, he's just like, Adrian, Adrian. Right? And the reporters are in his face. He's like, I don't care about no rematch, nothing, whatever. You know, and he's just going, and she's making her, she couldn't watch. She couldn't watch, and he was out there trying to be great. And she couldn't watch, but she was with him. Inside, you know, it's the first thing, you know. And she's like running, pushing through the crowd, you know. And she finally makes it near the ring. They won't let her in. And then Paulie like lifts up the rope and she goes in and she pushes her way through the reporters and everything. And, you know, there's all this commotion going on and she's screaming his name. And then he sees her and she was like, Rocky, I love you. But before that, he grabs her and he says, Adrian, where's your hat? You know? And I fucking melt every time. That's like the most selfless, loving thing. He's like, hey, where's your hat? Because she had a hat on and she lost it running through the crowd. That he don't care about, and his face is busted up. He said, hey, where's your hat? And then he hugs her, you know? And that's it. And to me, that's like, bro. You know, it's like so heavy, you know, so heavy. Selfless love. You know, that's what he was looking for. That's what he had, you know, and I have that. And that's what's nice. So I watch those things. I'm sitting in my car by myself, you know, to remind myself, bro, this is what I got. And I get reminded when I get home, you know, that's what I got. But I'm also him where I'm walking around here trying to be fucking great, you know, and trying to be great for them, for the people that who rely on me, because it's not just me that's connected to everything that you know, I'm connected to a lot of people. I'm connected to my kids. I'm connected to, you know, I'm connected to everybody in my life. And I have to remember that. And I don't mind that pressure, because that pressure, in that sense, it forces me to put myself in a position where I have to constantly, I wouldn't say consistently just do the right thing. You know, just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. Just do the next right thing. You know? And it's not always easy, because I've been programmed to be selfish. You know, it's just the way that I am. You know? What is this? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just the way that I am. You know, and it's selfish, not out of being selfish, but it's out of fear. Like selfishness out of fear, you know? So this thing goes back to what I was thinking about, as far as, you know, being stuck in that fear, and then me just doing whatever, you know, doing what I want to do, quote unquote, doing what I want to do versus doing what I know will make me feel better. What I want to do is lather myself in self-pity. Oh man, I can't believe I don't have this, or I didn't do that, or I made this mistake, or I fucked this up, I did that, I can't believe I said that. Dude, sometimes I have those thoughts periodically, and they go back all the way to like 5 years ago to 35 years ago. I can't believe I said that. You know, I used to call it the slideshow of insanity. And then I can just go on this death spiral of self-pity and self-delusion. And the delusion is that I'm the only one who thinks like this, or I'm the only one who behaves like this. And then when I fall victim to those delusions, then I start reaching for things like the pizza and whatever. I don't, drugs and alcohol not on the table. There's a lot of other shit that's on the fucking table. Also not on the table is, women. Other women are not on the table. Oh man, there is no reward. It's not even the risk. I already won. That war, I already won. So all I can do is go out there and lose. If I go do that for what? 5 minutes, 8 minutes of fun, or fucking playing footsie, on the telephone, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, I don't have any of that going on. Because I already, I got everything already. But like I said, in those moments, man, I make choices in those moments that are better than the alternative of just more debauchery, more bad shit, more whatever. Anyway, so it's funny because I heard it the other day. It was from this Asian gang leader, and here's the thing, like I watch and listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts and regular, books and motivating stuff. Not motivating, but things to keep me on the right track. Because a lot of times I have a tendency, or I respect the fact that I used to have a tendency to look for instant self-gratification. And then after that, justification. Like I have that, I can't make pretend like that's not one of my character defects. So anyway, this guy said, the biggest misconception of my life is that I used to believe that I would be happy if I just did whatever I wanted. And that was like so deep for me, bro. So to make it my own, for me, I turned it into the biggest and most destructive misconception of my life, is that I used to believe that I would be happy if I just did whatever I wanted. Because here's the truth. I fucking lived like that. Like the way, and this guy ended up in prison and all this other stuff, and I ended up how I ended up. Alcohol, drugs, women, that whole life. I did whatever. Nobody could say no. Nobody could say no. I held everybody they were at my mercy, any person who loved me, man. And I just stomped all over them. I had no regard. I was incapable of being considerate of other people. I didn't have it in me. I was consumed with self. And all I did was just leave wreckage everywhere while climbing whatever mountain I wanted to climb. So yeah, by the time I was, I had this age, I had this age, like whatever the resume is, right? It was me, it was me. And I wanted to do it the way I wanted to. And I barely made it out of there. Like, oh my God, I got so fucking lucky. That God showed up and he knocked me off that course at 24. He knocked me off that course at 24. So for me, what are the challenges now, right? And then I started going down this new path. Now, this new path involved a lot of changes in my attitudes and my behaviors. And just because I went to meetings and did 12 steps and whatever, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, it means a lot, but it doesn't mean everything. Adopting those principles into my life of being selfless and loving and caring is not easy, because I don't want to be one of these cynical old men, but the world is a very cynical place. I know that sounds very like cliche, but like that's the way it is out there, man. It's like it is cliche, and I have a lot of identification with, I talk all the time about, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of, now that I've been out of that, I can identify when I see it. So when I see it in one of my kids, and it's them just being like, it's the middle one, surprise, surprise. That when I just see them being that ego-driven, narcissistic, selfish person, I identify with that. And it's hard for me because I can't always let them know, like, hey, that's all fucking ego right there. You need to check yourself, because I'm not allowed to talk to them like that, And their mom is in a I guess their situation between the two of them is that they have barely, if any, real substantive communication. It's almost like two people checking in with each other, sending like emails, like, yes, I punched in, yes, I punched out. It's very, very surface. And it's because there's so much that needs to be said that neither one of them is saying. And because neither one of them is saying it, it comes out in all these other ways. It comes out in all these other ways. I think I told you guys, like, I missed a swim because they had a fucking wisdom tooth that needs to be pulled, right? And guess what? It's my responsibility. As their dad, I pony up the money, no questions asked, nobody's throwing any fucking shit at you about that, right? But because I ask you for months at a time not to leave your shit in the hallway, her shoe, they're so, this is what I mean, the level of, this is what, I've heard this in passing, and I know that it's true. Because I think I vaguely remember them saying something to me. For some reason, they don't like outside shoes in their room. Like walking around outside and then coming into their room. Which is honestly fucking crazy, because if I showed you their room, you would think that it was an episode of Hoarders, because there's just shit everywhere, fucking clothes, everything you can imagine is everywhere. Like, my girl and I joke, like, dude, if I was that age, or if I was 16 or any age, there's no way I could bring a woman into that room to even sit next to me. They would look at me and be like, what? This is how you live? Peace, motherfucker. Like, so I can't even imagine. I don't know how. Yeah, it's worse than you think that I'm describing. It's worse. There's like there's plates of fucking food, bottles of fucking whiskey, pills. There's pot everywhere. There's clothes. Oh, you can't even walk through. You can't see the floor. Straight up, you cannot see the floor. And that's all you got to say. You cannot see the floor. So I can't strangle them about that's how they live, even though I know that way of living is the same way that I would live in my own sloth of self-destructive, all about me. I can't even see the fire that's burning around me. When I'm in there, I know that's, so I'm like, oh, dude, like, I don't know for how many years I told them, like, yo, if you have a clean room, you will feel better about yourself. They would rather feel like shit than go through the pain of keeping their room clean. And I know some people can identify with that. So, yeah. So, I'm like, so this is what I don't get. So their room looks fucking crazy. But they take their shoes off before going into their room. It's like this very bizarre equation. Like, yo, you take your shoes off before you go into the room, yet you can't even step on the floor because it's so filthy in there. And filthy not just meaning clothes. I mean, it's filthy, bro. There's crumbs of shit. There's shit everywhere. So I tell them, yo, you cannot leave your shoes, your sneakers, whatever, in the fucking hallway. No. Your problems, your thing stays in your room. Because to me, so what does that mean? If you don't think you should have outside shoes in your room, why do you think it's okay to walk through the house with them on? I take mine off when I get in the house. You know, but they'll walk all the way through the house with them on and then take them off outside of their room. Like, that's how self-centered they are. That it's just about them. That I'm not even going to consider other people. This is just the way that I roll. Right? So I'm like, all right, so I have to ask them at least maybe 3 or 4 times a week to fucking bring their shoes inside. And on top of that, they burn weed in the room, which I keep telling Emily to ask them not to. Like, stop burning fucking weed in the room. Like, if you want, the fact that I even allow you to smoke weed in my house is fucking crazy. Right? The level, I can just say no. I can say no to anything. It's my crib. I can say no to anything. But I'm like, bro, if you're going to go smoke weed, you're 23. This is how you're living, you know? Go on the fucking terrace and smoke weed and then come back. But the fact that you disregard that and you think that you can just do that and just say, fuck you, basically, and then say, no, I'm not smoking weed. Like, that's how stupid it is. So anyway, so those are the only things that I really ask of them. That, say hello, goodbye when you come in, because you don't know how to be respectful on your own. Don't keep your shit in the hallway. Don't smoke weed in the room, and clean up after yourself, right? When you're in the common area. So I'm saying that to say, okay, if they need to get their tooth fucking done and it's $1,000 fucking bucks, I just pay. I say, okay, here's the money. Good luck. But you ain't in the fucking, you're not even in the same ballpark to ask me for an actual favor. Like, you're already home and I'm coming home and you're like, yo, can you stop and grab some oat milk on the way home? I'm like, bro, wait a minute. You work full time. Do not pay any bills. And you went to work in Manhattan, came home, got off the train, came to the house, and then you want me to stop on the way home, which is, if I got to get oat milk, that means I got to go do whatever. I have to go on the mission? Like, no. Like, fucking no, bro. I ask you to do these things and you say no. I'm like, dude, you're not even in a position to ask me for a fuck. Are you crazy, right? You crazy right now? Like, that's like fucking crazy. You know, but that's what I mean. The level of self-centeredness, I see it. I know it. And I try to tell my girl about it, and I try to teach the little one about it. And they're like, no, you're picking on them. I'm like, I'm picking on them. Dude, I asked them for 3 things. They do none of them. That means the world works is not like, oh, I ask you for 3 things, you do none. Then you ask me for something, and then I say yes. I have to say yes. That's called entitlement. So all of these things that are like, oh, these new, they don't blame millennials. I like to say millennials, but it's not them. What are they, Gen Zs or Gen Zers? Is that what we're going to call them? Gen Zers, right? That's a good one. That one I made up. Write it down. Gen Zer, right? So these Gen Zers who are fucking that they're entitled, they want everything given to them, they don't want to do anything. Dude, all of that whole costume, that whole cliche, there's one across the fucking hall from me. In the flesh. Fuck. It like dawned on me like, dude, this is exactly, now I'm getting comfortable. This is exactly who they are. And I'm like, dude, like, maybe there's millions of them. Or maybe just nobody's like telling them. Like, dude, like, guess what? You cannot do whatever you want on this earth without any repercussions. There has to, you know, my Free Willy used to tell me all the time, and it's funny, I just told Jamie, it's like, bro, we could do anything we want. We just got to be willing to pay the price. That's it. And we don't know what the price is, but we have to be willing to pay the price. So for them to think that I would stop and get them fucking oat milk is insanity. And it gets better. The entitlement. So I'm sure I told you guys before that, like, you know, they had a beef with my girl because my girl's old school Puerto Rican, man. She is a fucking goddess. And she is a lady. Like, she is a fucking lady, man. Yeah, and she has principles, and it's very hard. Like, it's hard not to respect them, man. She's got principles, and she stands on them. So, point being is that ain't nobody allowed to sleep in my house. That's not me and her. So, both of my kids that are in my house, if they have girlfriends or maybe boyfriends or they friends or whatever, guess what? They ain't allowed to sleep over. We don't care how old they are. We don't care any of that stuff, right? So my kid was beefing with them, and they had like a whole blowout about it. When they had the nerve to ask my girl, like, so what are you saying? You're the only one who's allowed to have sex in this house? Like, I couldn't believe she had the nerve to say that, like, to her face. Like, that's how divorced from reality she is. My girl's like, yeah. Like, the things that are very obvious, these kids are so self-centered that they don't even think about it, even though it's right in their face. It's like, yes, because guess what? This is my motherfucking house. Like, you can't do that. Like, you just fucking can't. You know? And they're fucking crying. It was a lot. You know, because they don't talk to each other. And they're not honest with each other. Each one of them has half a story. And the only story that they have, the one that the kid has is that the kid's the victim. The one that the mom has is that the mom is the victimizer. So the mom blames themselves, the kid blames the mom, and there's no accountability to the kid. And too much accountability on the mom's fucking plate. And here I am, you know, fucking Mills Lane refereeing, R.I.P. to him, that, like, I'm like, dude, you're giving yourself too much grief, and this person is not being accountable enough for their own life. They're just not. They're not. And that's the only way that people with their mindset learn, whether you want to call it an affliction, and they're already fucking, you know, they have every diagnosis you can imagine. Don't worry. Next year, it'll be another one, and there'll be another one. And they just run for these, like, and it's not just them. There's a whole society of them that they just run, like, right away to the psychiatrist and the psychologist, and they're like, okay, medicine right away. Ease the pain right away instead of living through the pain and learning how to deal with it and learning how to fucking be like a fucking survivor and not like a victim. You know? Just learning how to fucking do that. And here comes a tangent. I'm sorry. That, like, you know, I listened to these, you know, these two guys that I met around here that they have this podcast, you know, Road to Redemption or something. I forgot what it's called. I'll say it right now only because I want to shout them out. And they're great gentlemen. Road to Legacy, excuse me. So go subscribe to the Road to Legacy podcast, whether you're a person of color or not, because these are two brilliant, incredible guys that really dive into, you know, that the life through that perspective. I only have my own perspective, so, and I know it's not my own. So, but they're, you know, in the black and brown community, especially like, you know, Latinos too. They're like, yo, everything's like, oh my God, no, mental health. Oh my God, yeah, mental health. Nobody talks about mental health. Well, like, yeah, because they think it's like only white people talk about mental health. But let me tell you, this, what I believe, conspiracy J number 1084, okay, is that this is a big narrative that is going to be spit into the black and brown community, right? To turn them into these lily-ass fucking white kids who are just all medicated out and they're fucking weak. That's what it's going to do to them. Because now, over because of like ending of a little bit, racism's getting better and society's getting better. And there's all this information out there. And then like, there's all these opportunities for people of color and gay and lesbian and trans people and whatever that there wasn't there before. Nobody's denying that. So what they're doing is like, they're like, oh no, how can we stifle this growth? Well, we can just start medicating these motherfuckers, man. We can say, no, you know what? You're right. You belong in this gene pool also. So guess what we're going to give you? We're going to give you Adderall and I think you have ADHD. Yeah, Adderall. And, maybe you're depressed. Oh, my God, you're depressed? You're 14, you're 15? No problem. Maybe it's your parents. They're too pressurizing on you. Oh, my God, you should start a revolt. Like all that thing. And they're going to medicate them out and turn them soft. Because they cannot have them be self-reliant and be reliant on the rest of us who know how much bullshit that is. They're like, no, dude, you cannot fucking numb yourself through life, man. You got to fucking get up, put one fucking boot on at a time, and you got to put the shoes on. And you find other people who are like you, and then you all run the race together. That's what you do. And to get out of that way of like, oh, well, I'm just going to be so selfish, the best way to do that is being selfless. So in order for me to let people help me and me trust that, I had to learn by going out and helping other people without wanting anything in return. And that's what I had to do. So I'm like, I promise you, it's impending doom. This is coming for the black and brown community. I promise. Asians, I don't know. Like a lot of them, dude, they don't believe in that shit. Their parents still kick their ass and make them go to school and make them they're like, listen, we can figure out maybe some therapy or some other shit later, but right now we got to buy this property. And right now we have to secure our own spot on this earth. Muslims, a lot of them are the same way. Immigrants, a lot of them are people from the West Indies, Nigerians, they're the same way. They're like, yo, no, blah, blah, blah. That's cool, but we got to show you how to start a business. We got to show you how to do this. First, you need to secure your spot so that way they can't take it from you. And then you can work on whatever. But if you following the people who are enslaving you to teach you how to do something and how to make it through, bro, you have fallen for the plan. You've fallen for the plan, bro. So this is the end result now, right? My girl and the kid fighting over some, people fucking clam bumping in my house, right? Because they're lesbian or whatever they are. I shouldn't say clam bumping. I'm sorry if that offended any of you guys. That was just me being stupid, caught in the moment. Fornicating. So, right? So what do I do? And this is like maybe 6 months or a year ago that this confrontation happens, right? Now, just so you know, before me and my girl got together, it was just my son and I. And I'm not going to say we had bitches running wild, but we were doing okay. But everything was on the up and up. Everything was okay. It was with respect. I respected his space. He respected my space. There wasn't no girls no young women. Because I told him, I said, bro, listen, I can't have 18 and 17-year-old girls walking around my house with like a little tight T-shirt on and underwear. That cannot happen. But like, this girl stays over, like whatever. I may be out for the night too, because he's already, he was in college. He was doing all the right things, So that it didn't bother me. And I told him already. I told him what the rules were. Like, dude, you make a baby, is on you. You got to be careful. Boom. I told you guys all the shit that I gave him, right? So people sleeping over for that is not even my thing. It's their thing. It's my girl's rule, because my girl's very traditional, old school, and she's like she's everything. She's Adrian. She's Adrian with a fucking switchblade in her big titty bra, right? So, yeah, they're having that thing. So I pull my kid aside after all the shit is gone. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, nobody's saying that you can't have a partner. We're just saying you can't do the shit in here. Now, you've already broken that rule enough times that my girl would send me, she'd like, listen, you better go in the room and kick that fucking girl out of here because it's 8 a.m. and the girl's still there, a different one. And I'm like, dude, you're putting, because my kid has broken that rule enough times without apologizing or anything, of course, right? So I pull them aside, and this is like where I'm like reliving every time I try to extend an olive branch, and all they do is they slap me in the fucking face with it. So I pull them aside and I say, listen, you can just go get an Airbnb or go get a hotel. You're 20-something years old. You and your girl, you have fucking money. You're both working. Put $150 together. Go get an Airbnb for the weekend. $200. What you guys can do whatever. Why do you insist on doing it here in your mom's fucking face under her nose? Like, why? And it's because, here's the thing, she's lucky that it's not my sister-in-law, because her aunt, my sister-in-law, would have just fucking dragged the girl out by her hair and beat the shit out of her and thrown her in the street. And you do that once or twice, guess what? That stops everything. But since my girl is living with all of this, all of this guilt and shame or whatever from her own shortcomings in trying to raise the kids, she doesn't do that. She don't do that. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, that's what it would take. Like, if I walked in there and the girl was in there sleeping with them and it's 7 a.m, I wouldn't go super old school Boricua with like a hot fucking thing of, chicken grease. But I would get a pot with fucking cold water and I would just throw it on the both of them and just shock them awake and say, every time you break that rule, something like this is going to happen, and it's only going to get worse since you don't know how to respect me, and we can't kick the shit out of you. Because guess what? In real life, when you violate somebody like that, where you just say fuck you to them and you're going to do whatever they want, you don't know what's going to come back. You don't know. So in reality, the kid is actually bullying us, right? So I give them that olive branch. I'm like, listen, go get an Airbnb. Hang out with your girl for the weekend. This is like almost a year ago. I tell them, I'm like, listen, or whatever. It was a long time ago. I was like, dude, just do that, man. It'll solve the whole problem. We don't care when you stay out. You could just go do that, and then everybody's happy. I said, as a matter of fact, I'll split it with you. If you guys are short for cash and you don't want no fucking, here, I'll give you half the money. What do you want? However much it is. They ain't staying at the fucking Waldorf, right? They're not. So, fast forward to now, right? My kid is like, 1 second. I just want to make sure I get this correctly. So my kid sends me a text, right? Now, meanwhile, in between then and now, they're disrespecting the 2 rules that I put out, aside from all the other shit that they've done. They said, hi, I know there's this message. Hi, I know this is overdue, but he's still willing to pay for an Airbnb for a night. We're finally able to find a weekend that works for everyone. And I was like, who is everyone? That's what I wrote. And she gave me some names. It was her girlfriend, her fiance, her girlfriend, and their 2 friends, 4 of them. I said, well, whose name is it going to be under? And she said them. And I said, okay, when I offered you that it was for you and your lady to have your own time because of the issue you have with her not being able to stay over. This was a long while ago, and you and mommy had a fight over it. I can contribute $150. You guys will have to handle the rest. That was my response. Their response was, it was always going to be the four of us, even when you offered. And she said, and then they say, okay, thanks. And I was like, dude, are you crazy? It was just funny to me. I was like, I'm giving you what you want. Reluctantly, even though now you don't deserve it, because since the time I offered that to you and now you have disrespected me 700 fucking times with the shoes and with not cleaning up after yourself and smoking weed all in my fucking crib. So the fact that you think that like, oh, well, you know what? This guy offered me something and I'm going to hold him to it regardless of how I treat him from the time he offered it until the time I rang the bell. Like, hey, oh, you're a man of your word. You said this, right? You said it. So I was texting my girl while this was going on. I was like, dude, I really don't even want to give this shit to them, but this is who I am. All right, I'm doing this. You know, and they were like, yeah, it's always been the four of us, even when you offered. Thanks. And I said, if that's what you want to believe, then fine. It was a long time ago. When is the day? So just because I told them that, if that's what you want to believe, then fine. It was so long ago. Bro, they threw like a fucking hissy fit. Start texting their mom. This is like passive aggressive or whatever they were saying. And then they were like, you know what? Nah, now I don't want it. That's what came through the grapevine to me, because my girl texted me like, yo, like she's like, my girl's like, I think you're being over aggressive. I was like, over aggressive? Dude, this kid is pulling on a fucking favor from a year ago after she just kicked me in the fucking balls every week up until now. And I could really just say no. But I say yes because this is what it was when I offered it to you. So look, here, this. Bro, it was all they had to do was just say, okay. Regardless of whether they thought something else or what, they got what the fuck they wanted. But it wasn't enough. They needed to be right more than they needed to be happy. They wanted to stay miserable. So they threw that other thing in there and then still said no to the money. So I'm like, so if you got the money enough that you could say no to me, what the fuck you asking for me for? Why? It doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't even make any sense. It's so crazy to me. You know, but that was me walking through my fear. I was like, dude, I could just comply and it'll be the same old, same old. And guess what? The fear is this. The fear is the fact that my woman doesn't always, it's not a united front against, not saying against, it's not a united front when it comes to dealing with the children. Meanwhile, I don't believe in the not sleeping over, but she says no. And then I say, look, this is what your mom says, and that's it. So I ride with her 100,000%. Meanwhile, I got to ask her, like, I don't know how many times, please tell them to put their shoes away. Please tell them to put their shoes away. Please tell them to put their shoes away. Please tell them don't smoke in the room. Please tell them don't smoke in the room. You know what I'm saying? I'm like here groveling. But I knew that it was going to make a problem between me and my girl because nobody's allowed to talk to this kid like that. And that's exactly why they feel the way they fucking feel. That's exactly why they behave the way they behave. You know, they're 23 years old living like a slob in my fucking crib, thinking it's their crib. Not paying no bills, not doing no nothing, and then hitting me up for fucking bread like, yo. Meanwhile, I'm like, dude, I'm telling my girl, like, yo, this girl spends all her money on drugs and alcohol. Which is fine. That's her life. It's their life. So, like, but don't deny that that's what's happening. Because how do you and 3 other people not have $200 between the 4 of you? How, Sway? you know, because they never had to go out and get it. They're just so entitled. They think they can do whatever they want. And then people, I couldn't, she called in that favor. And I know, because that's how I used to be. That's how I used to be. I was very self-centered. And here's the thing. The thing is, I don't even believe there's a lot of maliciousness. I believe it's like 10% maliciousness, and the rest is literally they don't know. Nobody's taught them, like, you are a very selfish, self-seeking individual. And these are the actions of somebody who is like that. Nobody told them. And every time I tell them, it's a fucking problem. One other time I told them, I was like, bro, you don't fucking... Yo, one time when they were like, dude, I forgot when this was. Like, I clean all the dishes and shit in the morning as best I can. I clean the kitchen every morning for my woman, whatever. They would leave shit in there. And they said one time, like, yo, I forgot what it was. They're like, yo, it's all right. Don't worry. You'll wash them in the morning. Like, she told me, like, I'll leave these here because I know you'll take care of it. Like, Dick, I don't work for you. This is for your mother. This ain't for you. You know, and they're like, yeah. And then, you know, they said something, and then I let them know, like, listen, none of this is yours. This is all mine and your mother's, ours together. You don't pay for anything in here. None of this is yours. We let you eat out of this fridge. We let you sleep in that room. None of this is yours. Bro, I said that to them. They went and fucking cried. They cried, bro. They fucking cried. I was shocked. And then my girl came to me like, yo, don't talk to them like that. Like none of this is theirs. This is their home. I'm like, no. This is our home. They are always welcome on the condition that they are respectful to other people, because I treat people like people, regardless of whether or not you're my kid or not. Because guess what? The same shit, I would have these same conversations with my son. You know, they don't want me to treat them the way that I treat my son. Because my son, it was extreme ownership. I never let him slip on anything. I'm like, dude, what you're doing right now, I would tell him, bro, what you're doing right now, this is sucker shit. You can't do that. You got to move like this. You know what I'm saying? You got to, if these are the principles, this is how you got to get down. This is what you got to do. These are the choices that you got to make. Some of them are hard. We're going to fucking do it together. But you know what I'm saying? It's me and you. You can't be taking swipes at me. You know, like you can't. Like I gotta be, you know, it's that kind of thing. Where even when we had I wouldn't say tumultuous. When we had regular growing pains, it was never on some like supreme disrespect level. Because he always maintained that respect for me. Even if he did whatever he wanted to do, but he maintained that respect for me. You know, where this one specifically does not. She doesn't respect me and she doesn't respect her mom. And if I tell her mom, like, yo, she ain't respecting you, she's like, no, everybody feels different things as far as respect and disrespect. That's like a justification, you know? When like, hey, listen, we're asking you not to do this and you do it anyway, that's fucking disrespectful. Like in your face, and then, haha, I'm going to do it again. Like, dude, you know? But hey. And then my girl reached out to me because of that text message. Because I knew she ended up getting in the middle. Because she went crying to her mom. I was like, her go crying to her mom, bro. I didn't say nothing wrong. I didn't say nothing wrong. And no, I'm not saying, there's nothing to be sorry about. I'm not saying sorry. You know, that's like crazy. That's coddling. That's coddling. That's how we got to where we are. And now when people are like, oh, we have a whole generation of coddled fucking kids. I don't know how many we have, but I know at least one personally, and it's fucking real. The coddling is crazy. It's everybody else's fault and not theirs. Everybody else should cater to them. They're not capable of going out and finding their way and trying to make something happen. They're not capable of that because they feel like they're owed it. You know, nobody owes anybody anything. And that's the truth. You got to go out there and claim what's yours. You know, and you can do it one of two ways. You can do it the way that I did with the first half of my life, which is I went over, above, and around every fucking rule. And I blew through every fucking stop sign. And I hurt a lot of people along the way. But I did it. At least that, like, I was self-supporting, you know, I was self-supporting, even in my own dungeon of pity. It was my dungeon, you know. And then I turned it around, and now, you know, we do it with love and with empathy and whatever. But it's hard to, it's hard for me. The principles that I have to stand on, like, dude, I gotta, you know, I don't allow anybody to disrespect me in that way, you know. Yeah, I don't. And maybe that's like the old school way that I am. Like, it doesn't mean that everything has to be met with aggression or whatever, but like, you got to get checked and just say, hey, listen, my friend, even my sponsor, like, he tells me all the time that he has to tell people, this is how he checks them. He's like, hey, excuse me, please talk to me nice. Okay, please talk to me nice. Like, that's checking somebody. It's not like, yo, motherfucker, fuck you. Like, you don't have to meet it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, talk to me nice. You know, I'm not even asking a lot in my brain. But it doesn't matter what you ask, because obviously you can tell from that exchange. It didn't matter. They wanted to be right more than they wanted the money. And I guess what? They have the money and they're right, and it didn't come from me. You know, so it's I don't know if it's a win, but they're going to know same way my son knows, anybody else knows. You can ask me for anything, but nothing comes unadulterated. Like, you know, you got to be like, my son asked me for money or whatever, I'd be like, what's going on? I'm not just like, yeah, sure, here's whatever. And I would give him whatever, or I'd give him a portion of whatever. But, you know, he has to learn how to be in a position where he doesn't have to ask, you know. It's like, yo, I can't tell you, listen, you're digging yourself into a fucking hole. And then him being like, nah, fuck you, I got it, I'm good. And then you get all the way into the hole, and then I'm like, all right, I'll just pull you all the way out. You know, now that you finally learned your lesson because you didn't want to hear from me. I'm like, nah, dog, I'll pull you halfway out. And then the other half, you're going to have to get yourself out. So that way you remember that pain, and then you don't do it again. But if you're a repeat offender, then you go from being a victim to a volunteer. And then I go from being a dad to a fucking sucker. And that is not me. Because you will not learn that way. You know, you will not learn that way. And my job as a parent is to be principles before personalities. You know, I got to teach you how to make your way in this world. So anyway, that's my wrap for this, for this episode. You know, there's so much more I can go into, you know. It's hilarious, actually. It's hilarious, but whatever. One of these days, I'm sure maybe they'll listen to this thing. I don't want to embarrass them too much. But the truth is, they should, you know, it's not really embarrassing in the sense where, like, I identify. I used to be like that. Her mom used to be like that. And now we're not. So, anyway, I love you guys. Peace. Okay, everybody, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the Spiritual Experience. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, Pandora, everywhere. And please find us on Facebook, where you can become part of our family. We'll see you around.